In the opening, Clint Barton is coaching his daughter archery on his secluded farm even as his wife prepares a picnic lunch for them. Suddenly, Clint's daughter vanishes and the relaxation of Clint's own family disintegrates, at the sight of one half of all life throughout the universe, the end result of Thanos snapping his hands after acquiring all 6 Infinity Stones. Nebula and Tony Stark are stranded in Area following their defeat by using Thanos on Titan, however are lower back to Earth with the aid of Carol Danvers and reunited with Natasha Romanoff, Bruce Banner, Steve Rogers, Rocket, Thor, and James Rhodes. The crew formulates a plan to thieve the Infinity Stones back from Thanos and use them to reverse his movements, but analyze upon finding him that he had used the stones a 2D time to ruin them, stopping their further use. He tells the remaining Avengers that he did so that you can keep away from the usage of the stones for further nefarious functions. Enraged, Thor beheads Thanos, announcing it's what he must have finished in Wakanda. 5 years later, Scott Lang escapes from the quantum realm to discover that his daughter Cassie is now a teen and that Hope Van Dyne, alongside half of the population, has disappeared in the snap. Rogers has been main grief counseling classes for survivors nonetheless suffering with the effects of the snap, while Romanoff is tirelessly preserving watch over each Earth and the rest of the universe with the assist of Rhodes, Danvers, Okoye, Rocket, and Nebula. Lang is going to Romanoff and Rogers, and explains that whilst 5 years had surpassed for them, only 5 hours had handed for him inside the quantum realm and that time stretches a whole lot otherwise there. The three visit Stark, who's now raising a baby with Pepper Potts, and explain their theory that the quantum realm can be used to move again in time and scouse borrow the Infinity Stones before Thanos is able to accumulate them. Stark initially rejects their idea with concern about risking his circle of relatives and the peace he has determined, but after reflecting upon the loss of Peter Parker makes a decision to test theoretical fashions that might work with Lang's quantum tunnel, finally finding one that works. With Stark now on board, the final Avengers got down to reassemble their crew. Bruce Banner has now embraced the Hulk as part of him, and has melded his very own focus and the Hulks collectively into one. Romanoff, after hearing reports from Rhodes of an assassin that operates with comparable techniques to Barton, leaves to find him. Barton, fed on with grief after the loss of his circle of relatives, has been working beneath the mantle Ronin whilst brutally massacring criminal cartels and gangs round the arena that allows you to attempt to improve the world. This is nevertheless left. Natasha reveals him in Japan and after a few convincing, he consents to rejoin the group to be able to try to convey his family again. Banner and Rocket go to the small city of New Asgard, wherein Valkyrie and the closing survivors of Asgard have settled. They there discover Thor, who has turned out to be crushed by guilt over failing to kill Thanos in Wakanda. Thor has grown to be obese, his hair and beard are overgrown, and he spends his loose time consuming junk food, getting under the influence of alcohol, and playing Fortnite along with his pals Korg and Meek. Thor begrudgingly agrees to return to the Avengers after a few convincing from Rocket and Banner. After trying out the quantum time gadget on Barton, who confirms that it really works, the Avengers are reunited with a plan. Banner, Rogers, Lang, and Stark embark to retrieve the time, mind, and space stones in the course of the War of New York in 2012. Banner is going to the Sanctum Sanctorum, in which he's informed by means of the Ancient One that taking the time stone from her timeline could save you. Stephen Strange's destiny efforts to stop Caecilius from destroying the laws of nature. However, when Banner tells her that Strange gave up the time stone willingly to Thanos, she lets in Banner to have it, implying Strange had intended for a selected collection of activities to occur for Thanos to be defeated. Banner additionally guarantees the stones return to their right time strains so that it will prevent any ill effects. Lang and Stark attempt to scouse borrow the Space Stone after the Avengers confiscate it from Loki. Lang gives Stark's past self a mild cardiac arrest by pulling a circuit in his artificial heart, at the same time as Stark steals the briefcase housing the Tesseract when nobody is looking. Their plan is thwarted when Stark drops the briefcase after he is by chance hit by way of the Hulk. Loki then steals the Space Stone and uses it to get away custody. Rogers succeeds in stealing the Mind Stone from undercover Hydra agents, but stumbles throughout his beyond self, who errors him for a disguised Loki. After defeating past Steve, Rogers meets returned up with Stark and Lang, who now must determine out any other manner to get the Space Stone without jogging out of the constrained supply of PIM particles that allow them to tour via the quantum realm. Lang returns to the prevailing with the Mind Stone even as Rogers and Stark devise a plan to scout borrow the Space Stone from a U.S. Army installation inside the 1970s, while additionally stealing similarly vials of PIM particles so that you can make the adventure back home. While there, Rogers' points of interest Peggy Carter and Stark has an significant conversation together with his father Howard. Rocket and Thor tour to Asgard to retrieve the Reality Stone before Malekith makes use of it in opposition to the Nine Realms. While in Asgard, Thor is reminded that his mom, Frigga, might die quickly and has a chance come across along with her even as Rocket steals the ether, the vaporized model of the Reality Stone, from Jane Foster. The two return to Earth after Frigga counsels Thor and he retrieves his hammer Mjolnir, elated to discover that he is nonetheless worth of it. Nebula and Rhodes travel to Morag to scout borrow the Power Stone before Peter Quill does. As Rhodes returns to the existing with the Power Stone, Nebula malfunctions and remains on Morag. With consciousnesses running on Nebula systems, Thanos and Ebony Maw find out the presence of future Nebula and kidnap her. Nebula realizes what has occurred and attempts to warn the others, but is too overdue. Thanos scans her recollections and discovers the Avengers' plan, and sends the greater dependable past Nebula back to the prevailing as a spy. Barton and Romanoff journey to Vormir to retrieve the Soul Stone, although are conflicted while Red Skull, keeper of the stone, informs them that it could handiest be retrieved with the aid of sacrificing a person they love. The combat over in an effort to make the sacrifice, with Romanoff ultimately taking the fall, at the same time as a distraught Barton returns to Earth with the Soul Stone. After all people has returned to the existing on Earth, Stark, Rocket, and Banner got down to craft a gauntlet to wield the stones, one constituted of the identical nanotech of Stark's modern-day Iron Man in shape. Banner volunteers himself to wield the gauntlet and bring back each person that disappeared in Thanos' snap, reasoning that he can resist both the gamma radiation and the substantial ache and damage added on via the use of the stones. He succeeds, although they may be almost at once attacked by using Thanos, who has been delivered to Earth with the aid of the imposter Nebula, destroying the quantum portal in the method. Thanos reduces the Avengers' headquarters to rubble, splitting the team up and causing the gauntlet to fall into Barton's protection. The Beyond Nebula is killed by using her future self as she tries to take the Infinity Stones from Barton, whilst Rogers, Thor, and Stark confront Thanos, who decides he'll as an alternative use the Infinity Stones to damage the universe and create one in his imaginative and prescient. The three combat Thanos one-on-one, with Rogers confirming Thor's theory that he is worth of wielding Mjolnir, but are every bested by way of Thanos. Soon after Thanos' military lands on Earth, T'Challa seems before Rogers, in conjunction with all of the Avengers and different allies revived through Banner, before launching an assault on Thanos and his navy. After a prolonged conflict throughout which Stark is reunited with Parker and Quill is reunited with past Gamera, Thanos wrestles with numerous Avengers for the Infinity Stones. When he is sure by way of Wanda Maximoff's strength, Thanos orders Glaive to have his deliver fire a couple of electricity blasts, almost devastating the Avengers' efforts. Captain Marvel reappears, casting off Thanos' deliver whilst combating for control of the gauntlet. Using the nanotech from the brand new gauntlet, Stark maneuvers the Infinity Stones from Thanos' hand to his personal and makes use of them to show Thanos and his complete navy into ash, triumphantly mentioning "I am Iron Man." Parker and Potts console Stark as he dies from publicity to the stone's radiation. Following the warfare, the Avengers keep a funeral for Stark, whose Mark I arc reactor is floated out on the lake subsequent to his residence. Barton and Wanda Maximoff take solace in the reality that Romanoff and Vision, who did no longer go back inside the snap, might be proud of their victory over Thanos. Thor makes Valkyrie the Queen of Asgard and joins the Guardians of the Galaxy in an effort to discover his true reason, free of the burden of royalty and management for the primary time in his lifestyles. Barton returns home to his own family and Parker returns to high school, where he is reunited with his pleasant friend Ned. Meanwhile, Rogers is tasked to enter the past to return the stones and Thor's hammer to their original time traces, however comes to a decision not to return to the prevailing and to as a substitute stay the relaxation of his existence in the past with Carter. He reappears before Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes as an antique guy, and passes his shield and the mantle of Captain America on to Wilson. A quick flashback shows Rogers and Carter in an everyday-looking residence, finally sharing the dance they by no means got to have of their living room, certainly satisfied at remaining.